Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be reviewing Season 9 of The X-Files. Following the events of the Season 8 finale, Mulder is now in hiding, while Scully, Doggett, and Monica Reyes, who was introduced in Season 8, team up to unravel a government conspiracy involving super soldiers. But before we begin guys, I just want to give everyone a big thank you for 400 subscribers. It took longer than I expected, but what can I say? We made it. Season 9 ended up being the last season in the show's original run, not because it was intended to be the show's endgame, but for a variety of other factors. The show became less profitable thanks to declining ratings, it was the only season of the original run to be released in a post-9/11 world, and because of that, the folks over at Fox felt it was inappropriate to be airing a show that contained anti-government themes, when at the time a much larger threat was present in real life. And the network became more interested in promoting their latest show at the time, 24, which I have a full playlist for if you're interested. The cast and crew have gone on to blame Season 9's failure solely on the September 11 attacks. But I'm sure anybody who watched Season 9 at the time knew that the show was long past its prime. And as a result of all of this, the show was left without a proper ending, at least for a while. But putting all of that aside and looking at Season 9 on its own merits, what did I think of it? Well, to be honest, I liked it. I don't exactly love it like I do pretty much every other season of The X-Files, at least in the show's original run. But it definitely has its own identity and charm, mainly due to the chemistry of agents Doggett and Reyes, as well as the creativity that comes with a lot of the Monster of the Week episodes. So let's get into it. So as far as the mythology is concerned, there's very little that I actually liked, but it's not all bad to be honest. Monica Reyes returns from Season 8 to have a more prominent role in Season 9. She's an FBI agent and Doggett's new partner. She's pretty much a believer, although her beliefs are more akin to New Age spirituality, as opposed to Mulder's belief in the existence of extraterrestrials. And her beliefs contrasted with Doggett's skepticism pretty well. And when compared to Scully, she's a bit more neurotic, scattered, and quirky in some ways. She may not be the show's most interesting character, but had the show been renewed for more seasons at the time, I think the writers could have done so much more with her. Plus, her and John Doggett actually made a great team, to the point where if the show had continued on with them instead of Scully and Mulder, that in itself could have led to all sorts of possibilities for these two characters. And fun fact, Monica Reyes was played by Annabeth Gish, who you may also recognize as Sheriff Althea Jarry from Sons of Anarchy. Carrie Alves, who everybody knows as Dr. Gordon from the Saw franchise, plays Brad Fulmer, an assistant director at the FBI, who appears in several mythology episodes and a couple of standalone ones as well. And I suppose the one mythology episode that really stood out to me this season was the episode William, which so happened to be directed and co-written by David Duchovny himself, in which a disfigured man is in pursuit of Scully's son William, but for reasons that are understandable. And yeah, other than that, I have a ton of issues with the mythology in this season, but we'll get to that later. Stylistically, Season 9 incorporates a much lighter and more vibrant visual style compared to Season 8, and is also a tad bit more lighthearted, while still packing in a few gritty episodes to even things out. Speaking of which, Season 9 has some really creative Monster of the Week episodes. 4D is about a serial killer who travels between parallel dimensions. In Lord of the Flies, a teenager dies after performing a daredevil stunt for a TV show called Dumbass, which was clearly inspired by Jackass. However, Doggett and Reyes discover that his death was caused by a far more disturbing family secret. And fun fact, the episode features a young Aaron Paul, who everybody knows as Jesse Pinkman from Breaking Bad. John Doe and Release are two Doggett-centric episodes. The first one sees Doggett waking up in a dusty old Mexican town with no knowledge or memory of his past or identity. The other one finally resolves the case involving his son's killer. In Hellbound, Reyes investigates a case involving the discovery of a man skinned alive. The weird thing is the similarities between the case itself and visions she had reminiscent of the case. Audrey Pauly sees Reyes waking up in a surreal hospital which is believed to be death's waiting room, and has to find a way out before dying permanently. Improbable is a comedy episode in which Reyes teams up with Scully to catch a serial killer, and in the process they rely on numerology, the powers of deduction, and a mysterious card-playing stranger. And fun fact, the serial killer was played by Ray McKinnon, who's best known for his roles as Lincoln Potter from the Sons of Anarchy universe and John Proctor from Fear the Walking Dead. Plus, the mysterious card-playing stranger is played by the late great Burt Reynolds, may he rest in peace. And who could forget Sunshine Days, an episode written and directed by Vince Gilligan, and the very last time he had any involvement with the X-Files franchise whatsoever, making this episode pretty much his swan song. And it so happens to be the show's 200th episode overall. In the episode, Doggett and Reyes investigate a bizarre homicide case where the prime suspect is a man who has a strange obsession with the Brady Bunch. This episode was funny, it had some really cool visuals, great directing from Vince Gilligan, and above all else, it was a clever allegory for the X-Files itself. The placement of the episode was perfect considering this comes just before the two-part finale. I mean, after all, it is the final X-File that Doggett and Reyes investigate. And then you have the two-part finale, The Truth. Now I'm going to avoid spoilers in an effort to keep this as simple as possible, and I'm just going to give you my key thoughts instead. Personally, I thought this finale was brilliant, and I'll explain why. You see, after the first 14 episodes were already filmed, Chris Carter was informed by the Fox network that he had to wrap up the show once and for all, because once they were done with the season, they were going to pull the plug, which explains why the last 6 episodes in particular wrapped up a lot of story arcs. I'm sure Carter knew that he couldn't wrap up everything the show had revolved around, so he really did the best he could in my opinion. And as a result, the only thing left dangling is the alien colonization itself. You know, in the finale we do get to find out when it happens, but we don't actually get to see it happen. That way, if Carter had the chance to revive the franchise by means of a 10th season or a movie, he could use that as an opportunity to end the story once and for all. And I'll admit, the attempts to revive the show have been very wobbly and finicky, but the important thing to note is that Season 9 was not the end of the road for the X-Files, and the end of Season 11 can serve as a series finale to the show depending on who you ask, but I'll cover that when we get to Season 11. So if you look at the ending to Season 9 as a season finale as opposed to a series finale, I think you'll find yourself appreciating it a bit more. Though admittedly, had I watched it at the time of its airing, I probably would have hated it for not feeling like a definitive ending to the show. The only issue I have with this finale though is the return of a specific character. You know, it was great to see them, but their return didn't really make a whole lot of sense in my opinion. Putting all of that aside, I still enjoyed this finale and I still enjoyed this season, but there's a lot of things that held it back from greatness. Now, first of all, the biggest issue I have with Season 9 is the way in which Scully and Mulder are utilized. They had such a great send-off at the end of Season 8 with the two of them leaving the FBI to raise William, and the show should have just continued on with Doggett and Reyes for a few more seasons. But this season comes along and undoes all of that by having Mulder go into hiding and having the government pursue Scully and William by means of the super soldiers. Honestly, trying to keep Mulder around even though David Duchovny clearly didn't want to be on the show anymore, just didn't work. And half the time, Scully's scenes were somewhat perfunctory, especially in the Monster of the Week episodes. And it's a clear indicator that the show should have just ended a long time ago, you know, especially since David Duchovny had been trying to leave since after Season 6, and Gillian Anderson had initially wanted to leave after Season 8. But it's obvious that the Fox network wasn't ready to actually let go of these two in fear that the ratings would decrease drastically, but they did anyway, so yeah. What was the point? Another issue I have is the mythology episodes being among the weakest in the show's history. The opening two-parter lacked urgency and also ended up cheapening the significance of Season 8's finale. The Super Soldier storyline didn't live up to its full potential and ended up being reduced to a Terminator ripoff, with the Super Soldiers constantly being in pursuit of Scully and William. And there were a lot of elements that just felt tired and recycled by this point. You know, we have another UFO cult, we have a new syndicate, and its leader, the Toothpick Man, feels like a one-note variation of the cigarette smoking man. So yeah, the mythology stuff was definitely the weakest part of the season. And there were even a few flimsy standalone episodes as well. I mean, the weakest one in my opinion is Scary Monsters, in which a woman repeatedly stabs herself to death and her widowed husband won't allow anyone near their son. Plus, Layla Harrison from the Season 8 episode alone makes a return here, so maybe the episode is worth a watch if you're a fan of her. But it's a bit derivative of other X-Files episodes, it's not the scariest thing in the world, and even the big surprise twist, yeah, I saw that coming. And then of course you have the episode Jump the Shark, which was meant to serve as a backdoor finale to the Lone Gunman spin-off after its cancellation. This episode was very disappointing, mainly because it only partially resolved the cliffhanger ending to the Lone Gunman's finale, which I really liked. And the ending to the episode was certainly bold, but I think it would have been more impactful if this were a mythology episode. So yeah, those are my thoughts on Season 9 of The X-Files. Next time we're going to be looking at the second X-Files movie, I Want to Believe, so look forward to that very soon. Thank you all for watching, guys. Please be sure to like the video, share it, and subscribe. Ring the bell, take care, and I'll see you soon.